What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Countdown Scouting Network. I'm your host, Joey Garcia, and today we're wrapping up the week with edge rushers for this 2024 Summer Scouting Series. So we are moving on to the defensive side. I know we haven't done quarterbacks yet. We're going to save that for the end, but we're moving on to defense. We've got only a couple weeks left until preseason starts. So let's go ahead and get into this, and we'll talk a little bit more at the end of this. All right. So starting with number 5, we have Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. He's 6'4", 265 pounds, and this is a guy who's a very impressive athlete. He's got a very good first step. His speed to power is probably his best thing that he's got going right now, and he's got good deconstruction skills on deconstructing blocks, um, fighting to gain outside leverage, and really force everything back into the middle. Um, he's got a really high motor. He can move laterally, and again, that's what I'm talking about. His lateral moving skills when he's trying to fight over top and make sure he keeps outside contained. He's very, very disciplined with that. The only thing that I would criticize about him is just his pure pass rush and pure bending of the edge. I don't really see it. I see stiffness. I don't really see him being able to just purely bend the edge and get speed, a speed rush up there. Even with a counter move, I think it has to be speed to power and work back inside or work a counter off of the tackle. I don't see him being able to just purely work the outside and beat him with athleticism. All right, the next guy, Zion Tupuola Fatu. I practiced before this and I still got it wrong. I knew that was going to happen. Um, he's from Washington. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. He's probably, I would say, he's got the best pass rush plan in the entire class. He's got a versatile set of moves. His repertoire is really, really filled out. NFL ready, I would say. He times his hands really well when he's trying to counter on guys and making sure he keeps their hands off of his chest when he's working up as a pass rusher. Um, he's not the greatest athlete. He moves fluidly, is what I would say when watching it. That's kind of what would call it, is a fluid mover, but not an elite athlete by any means. Again, this guy is another guy who's got a great motor. We talked about Jack Sawyer's motor. He's got a good motor as well, and he stays in plays, chases guys down from behind. He is recovering from an injury, though, so I wonder what he's going to look like at the beginning of the season. Put this in here as a mental note for myself when watching him and evaluating his beginning tape. He might not be 100% yet. I'm not sure. And then the last but not least, he gets pushed off the ball in the run game. So he might be, at least at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of his NFL career, he might be a guy who's purely working in on third downs because he's a liability in the run. No matter how great of a motor he is and how much fluid of an athlete he is, he just, in the run game, he just gets pushed back. So I want to see him be able to anchor down and really support in the run this year. And if he does, this is a guy who can move up this edge rush ranking. Number 3, all right, JT Tuamola, I guess is how I would say it this time. Again, this is another name I practiced, and I got it right the first time before this, but that's okay. We'll hear it enough on College Game Day, and I'll get it right before the NFL draft. So he's another Ohio State guy. He's bigger than Jack Sawyer. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. And again, their first step, both of them, were really explosive and nice first steps. He's a guy who can support the run a lot better than Jack Sawyer. Jack Sawyer can defend the outside, I would say, but he can't two-gap like JT can. JT can two-gap very well, especially for a defensive end. He might be a guy who can move inside to a 5 technique on an odd front on defense, but he's also explosive enough where if you're an even front defense, he can still just play the edge for you. He's got strong hands, and he uses his length well. I know he's only 6'4", but his arms make his length uh, a lot bigger, probably more like a 6'6" body. He's got a good spin move. I think he uses it a little bit too much, but he knows how to counter with just straight speed to power. The next thing you know, power to spin move, and he does that well. Um, but again, he kind of relies on the spin move. I think he needs to get a couple more pass rush moves into his repertoire before he's able to really be able to use that to his advantage in the NFL. And then the last thing I have on him is that he just struggles to deconstruct blocks. We talked about his teammate Jack Sawyer. He deconstructs really well. He knows how to break down the arms, but it almost seems like if JT doesn't get into the chest of his defender first, and they really get in there and they get his chest, he kind of doesn't know what to do. He can't break off blocks. Instead, he kind of can stand there. He anchors well, and he can get ready, but he just doesn't know how to fight off the block and attack towards ball. So hopefully that's something that they'll work on with him this year. And if so, I think he kind of reminded me of Emmanuel Ogba a little bit. All right, number 2. Some people might have him as their number 1 edge rusher. It's Dallas Turner from Alabama. This whole summer, everyone's been talking about Dallas Turner a lot. So I had to put on the tape for myself. He's 6'4", 240 pounds. So again, these guys are a little bit smaller. I know last year a lot of attention and double teams were going towards Will Anderson, and it really let Dallas Turner shine one-on-one. So he's got natural pass rush kind of vision to him. You can kind of tell that he knows what he wants to do, and he can tell when the offensive tackle is off balanced enough where he can take advantage of it. And again, he really knows how to counter and use his athleticism to his advantage, I would say. There are some guys who have athleticism and they just use it one way and they don't really understand when to stop and start. Instead, they're just kind of moving around erratically. He knows when to stop and start and again get those blockers off balance. I think that's probably his best trait, is just how natural he is at understanding a blocker's momentum. He also has the flexibility to work inside. I think with his size, you would think it's a little bit of a problem and you'd want to keep him on the outside, but he does a really good job working back inside. He can sometimes beat double teams. But again, with his size, he's probably not going to work inside too much at the NFL level, but it's just something to think about is that he's able to do that. As an athlete as well, he's not super good at bending the edge. I think that's something that surprised me, is with how good and how natural he is at moving, that his flexibility and again kind of being able to bend around that edge is just not really there. He uses enough pass rush moves and he can stop and start enough, but just pure speed, let's go ahead and pin our ears back and go. He just doesn't really have that. So that's something to work on as well. But I'd love to see him put on another 10 to 15 pounds. If he's not going to be able to really athletically bend around the edge, I would love to see him put a little bit more weight on, and you could actually see him work against the run a little bit better. The last guy, my favorite guy in here, is Jared Verse. I thought he was gone this year. He ended up coming back to Florida State because they're chasing a national championship. He is 6'4", 250 pounds, and super explosive. He has a very high motor, and again, an elite pass rush plan. Him and Zion are two guys in this draft class who have a very, very NFL caliber pass rush plan to them. Their repertoire is very full, and they know when to use them and counter off of each other. So that's something that's very promising with him. He's got really good bend. I know we talked about the flexibility and bending over with Dallas Turner, and Jared Verse has it. The only thing that really is a negative for him is that he struggles in the run game. He's not very good at holding the edge. He doesn't anchor down. His deconstruction's not elite either. I would say it's probably just average. It's not really a negative for him, but it's just not great. But as a pass rusher, as a pure pass rusher, he is probably the best pass rusher in this class. All right, let's get to some of these honorable mentions. Corey Foreman is a guy from USC. He's very explosive, very athletic edge rusher. He doesn't really have any moves. He's just purely athletic at this point. So I want to see him develop some moves and a little bit of run game discipline as well. Um, Sometimes you'll see him if he's going up against a read option and he bites, thinking that he's going to be able to make the play when he needs to stay disciplined and play his assignment. So he needs to get a little more discipline. Needs to be able to get a little bit of pass rush moves. He's not a guy who's going to be working in run game. He's just not strong enough to hold up in the run. Baron Sorrell from Texas is another guy who's powerful and speedy, but doesn't really have much of a pass rush plan or any actual moves to him. So him and Corey Foreman, I kind of have in that same range. You want to see them develop a little bit, and instead of just being pure athletes. Jordan Burch, Balin Trice. So Jordan Burch from Oregon, Balin Trice from Washington, and Josiah Stewart from Michigan are three guys that I put on here as reminders for me to watch. I haven't gotten to watch them yet, but I've heard good things about them. So these are guys we're going to have to check back on in the regular season. So that's all I've got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this. If there's any guys on here that I'm not forgetting, or if you have seen Jordan Burch, Balin Trice, or Josiah Stewart play and you wanted to give a description down in the comment section, go ahead and leave that down there in the comment section, and I'll check it out and we can kind of talk about it from there. But thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on Monday. We will be moving on to, I think we'll go to linebackers and then flip back to the interior defensive linemen. So have a good day, guys. Peace.